Michael as the superstar walked into the Santa Maria courthouse this week for his child molestation trial. Welcome back. We're on the story. And joining us now, Lorraine Ali, senior writer for Newsweek. Lorraine, what is going on? This guy hasn't had a hit record in a couple decades. He had to pay off a kid for alleged child molestation charges over a decade ago. They're loyal. They love him. Why?
You know, the fans that have remained really loyal to Michael, the reasons they say they've remained loyal, the number one is that he's innocent and that they feel they need to be out there spreading that message. And they're not just loyal, they're like devoted foot soldiers. So they've got websites, you know, they organize trips outside the courtroom. They are his foot soldiers.
You know, Lorraine, for those of us watching from the other coastline and far away, it just has that sense of, you know, California weirdness to it. And being born and raised in California, I'm allowed to say it.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's probably worth noting the prosecution, although it may have issues it has to contend with, is taking this very, very seriously, obviously.
Yeah, they definitely. Well, first off, this week we learned, you know, who they're going to roll out in terms of character witnesses for Michael. And you've got some really big, this is obviously for Michael's defense, but you've got some really big names such as Stevie Wonder, Liz Taylor, maybe even Bill Cosby. So this is going to turn into far more of a circus than you're even seeing right now. And I think just even in terms of LA weirdness, this is going to be up there towards the top.
But talk a little bit about what they did this week in terms of the mother of the alleged victim and the attempt perhaps to just discredit her from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're really going, the defense was really kind of at her this week, and I think they're really going to sort of go for the jugular on this, discredit her, and by the time they're finished, make her look like not a very good person. I would use rougher terms than that, but we're early in the morning. Yeah, I think these are desperate times for Jackson, and I think there's going to be desperate measures. I mean, you know, you look at what's going on in the media and pretty much what the rest of the country thinks about this guy, and I think the defense team's pretty aware they need to make the other side look really bad.
So, Lorraine, in your piece that you wrote for Newsweek, I was fascinated because you said that these fans look at Michael Jackson as a man of humility. And I was kind of thinking, humble is not necessarily a term that I would think of when I think of Michael Jackson. Set me straight here.
Well, his fans really look at him like he is this humble, charitable, honest guy, and that he cannot get a fair shake in this corrupt world. It's almost like they are putting all the traits on Michael that they almost want to see in themselves and out there in the world. He is the symbol of all that is good, and you know, they will go to great lengths to prove that yes, he is this great guy that's being totally misjudged. And I think that, you know, also the fans that I interviewed were really very gentle souls, and almost people that had kind of were overly sensitive and kind of got hit by things a little harder than
Lorraine,
the rest of us.
Tell us about one of these examples, because I was also struck that, you know, it wasn't just, you know, some quote-unquote misfit or somebody who had problems in their life. There are some successful, you know, professional people who I remember reading about your piece who have pictures of Michael Jackson all over their room, and they're totally identified with him. Give us a specific example of one of these people.
One of the fans that I interviewed, he's a biotech analyst, you know, works full-time, makes a good living, but what he does is he's also a seemingly normal 30-year-old guy, goes snowboarding with his friends, but you go into his house and, you know, in his bedroom is like a shrine to Michael. He helps run a website for Michael. The day before I'd interviewed him, he had taken a sick day off work and gone up and stood outside the courthouse with his sign screaming, "Michael, I love you." And so you would never know sitting next to this person, say on the train, that, you know, they had this devotion for Michael Jackson.
And, you know, talk about Hollywood royalty. It also emerged this week that Jay Leno wants to continue to do his jokes, his monologue, and cover the Jackson trial on his show. Tell us about that.
I think the Jackson trial is probably the best thing that's happened to comedians in a while.
Right.
Leno's just struck gold on this one.
So, some issue about the gag order, I guess, that, he wasn't being
I
right.
See.
I'm sorry.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that the gag order was going to keep him possibly from talking about it on his show. And I guess late night comedians see this trial as continuing fodder for the future, don't they?
Oh, definitely. I mean, definitely. And I think you're going to see things coming out of this trial every week, that you don't expect. And I think that's just going to give them those great sort of zingers that they need every night.
Well, that will be something that we'll all be continuing to watch. Thank you, Lorraine. We'll be looking for your articles in Newsweek. More on the story after this.